If you've been enjoying our podcast as much as we have and hope that we continue past 50 episodes, here's your chance. Here's your chance to help make that happen. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, not only will you help the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary podcast to live on, but you'll also get exclusive content just for you.
Here's what's in store for you. Join monthly Q&A sessions where you can ask us about anything. Whether it's about our work, personal interests, or advice on your own projects, we're here to connect and share.
Enjoy unique content created specifically for Patreon subscribers, including bonus segments from our shows.
You'll have a say in what we create, and you'll have a voice in future content.
Benefit from exclusive discounts on merchandise and entries into special giveaways. It's our way of saying thank you for your support.
Receive personalized shout-outs in videos, podcasts, or social media posts.
Because your support on Patreon allows us to dedicate more resources to creating the content that you love.
You could join the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast community on Patreon and become a Prairie patron for just $5 a month. We thank you so much for your continued support, and we cannot wait to share our ongoing journey with you on Patreon.
We are extremely grateful for the support of VisitSimiValley.com and the city of Simi Valley's belief in Little House on the Prairie and their support of the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
Discover the charm of Simi Valley, California, the home of the Prairie. Visit Simi Valley, where adventure meets history and the spirit of the Prairie comes alive. Explore the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, step aboard Air Force One, enjoy stunning hikes, and savor delicious local cuisine. Whether you're here for a weekend getaway or a family vacation, Simi Valley offers something for everyone and is only 30 minutes from Los Angeles. Plan your visit today and experience the best of Simi Valley. Go to VisitSimiValley.com for more details. Your adventure awaits in Simi Valley.
Well, hello once again, Bonnet Heads. Welcome. I'm Pamela Bob, your host, creator of Living on a Prairie. That's right. And, of course, I am here with our favorite prairie bitch, the one, the only, Allison Arngrim. There she is. Evil, the face of evil, but really a nice person. And then also we are here with my hashtag imaginary boyfriend, the one, the only, Dean Butler. Hello, Dean Butler.
Hi, Pamela. How are you?
I'm so excited for today.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, this is going to be really a fun one, I think.
I know it's going to be fun. Okay, anything happening that we need to talk about first before we get into it?
Well, I just think we want our audience to know that we are preparing to make some nice announcements about events that are going to be coming in the Little House world during the remainder of the year. And I can't say anything formally right now, but there are going to be announcements. So just keep your eyes on your screens, and you will see announcements.
Yeah, just so people know, I also don't know what these are, so I'm going to be equally as surprised. So yay, 2025 events. All right, okay, all right. Today we're going to get right to it because this is a good one. Today we're talking about a defining season 6 episode. Season 6, I think it's my favorite season, and this is definitely one of my favorite episodes. And we have a very special guest. We're just going to say there's a family reunion. Woo! But first, okay. From the studios of UB & Go in Burbank, California, this is the Little House 50th Anniversary Podcast Season 2 recap with Family Ties. Yeah. I'm so excited. Okay. Dean, hit it. What episode are we talking about today?
All right. So, everybody, we are talking about the season 6 episode. It's episode 20, entitled Wilder and Wilder.
Bam, bam, bam.
Wilder and Wilder premiered on February 11th, 1980, written by John Dugan, directed by Maury Dexter. Allison, what's the synopsis of the episode?
My favorite part of the show. Go, Allison.
A lot of drama here. Almanzo's indolent younger brother, Perley Day, comes to town.
Indolent younger brother.
Knowing that Almanzo's interest in a much younger Laura has deepened, Charles is convinced that Perley is the better man for his half-pint. Really?
Makes sense.
I'm like, okay. However, those sentiments quickly change when Perley injures one of Almanzo's horses. Two things become clear to Charles. Perley is a troublemaker, and Almanzo is a responsible young man, especially when he nurses the horses back to health. Thank you. This episode,
he's just a touch of the chauvinist. That's all. Yeah.
I don't know.
There is a little of that.
I would call Perley
Yeah.
Day a lot of things, actually, that I cannot repeat on this show. The things I yelled at the screen while watching the show.
Yeah, it's really like he was. Nothing was held back. I mean, you saw who this character was right up front, and it was shown very clearly multiple times as Charles is making his decisions based on something else. But the audience knows exactly who Perley Day is. From the very beginning.
He's a thief and a liar and grossly irresponsible and like a total narcissist, gaslighter, weirdo who trashes other people's possessions.
Yeah, so let's meet this guy. The
Other than that, he's
Wilder
a lovely
and
guy.
Wilder. I played one Wilder. Pamela, let's meet the other Wilder.
Okay, we're going to meet Brother Perley Day, and that is Charles Bloom. So let me give you a little bio about Charles Bloom. Charles Bloom's career is marked by notable achievements in both acting and musical composition. As an actor, he made memorable appearances on television series such as Mork and Mindy, Nanu Nanu, portraying Daniel Pearson, and Little House on the Prairie, that's right, our show, where he played Perley Day Wilder. Transitioning to musical theater, Bloom has made significant contributions as a composer and lyricist. He has written the book, music, and lyrics for the productions including Pablo, which explores the early life of Picasso, Insomnia, and Heaven Knows. His compositions have been performed by, a couple of no-names like Patti LuPone, Mandy Patinkin, Michael Feinstein, and his works are utilized in over 30 university musical theater programs worldwide. Wow. Additionally, his album, Music and Lyrics by Charles Bloom, In Here, features a live 20-piece orchestra and showcases Broadway talents. Let's welcome to the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast, Charles Bloom. Hello, Perley Day.
Hello. It's been such a long time. I thought it was going to be called Little Nursing Home on the Prairie.
Well, maybe that's the spinoff.
But I wanted to give you guys the full Perley Day experience.
Yes, yes, the cap
and all of that. I borrowed it from a road company, a Fiddler on the Roof, for Perchik.
Perfect.
The heck goes.
Michael Landon would be proud.
Yes, and we're not going to have it now, but Dean, you and I have to have a sidebar because I did finally see that TikTok video, but I don't have TikTok, Luddite lyricist that I am. And so he said something on the podcast about something I'd remember, and I don't remember it, and you'll have to tell me later. But it is a really treat to be in the Prairie presence of you guys after all this time.
Well, and Charles, also, we are only several 1 degrees of separation because over half of the people on all of your recordings are friends and colleagues of mine. So we'll get into that later, which is really, really, really cool.
15 people in the theater, and the rest is done with mirrors and Mylar. I know.
That's exactly it. Yes. That's exactly it. All right.
I'm so glad you included me. I only did 1 episode. I should.
No. Let me tell you something, because I'm the fan. Like on this podcast, there's Dean and Allison who give us the inside scoop, and then there's me, who's like a legitimate ultra fan.
Oh.
And so, from my perspective, I'm just seriously letting you know, Wilder and Wilder is like one of the best episodes. It has it all. It's a standout episode. And the episode after this is when Almanzo finally notices Laura. So, like, you know, it's sort of coming.
Yeah.
And this is like the precursor to that. And, you know, let's face it, who hasn't dated someone with a brother that they may or not have been attracted to? Or is that just me? Is that just me? Is that just me? Allison?
No, I don't think it's just you.
Totally happened. And I should
Yeah, I don't think it's just you.
I was with the guy, and we went home for Christmas, and I met the younger brother, and I should have dumped him actually right then and taken the younger brother. I did not.
Oh.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, oh my God, the younger brother was a better catch in his case. So, you know, see, it totally happens.
I dated a brother in order to become in closer connection to the other brother. Isn't that terrible? Terrible.
Wow.
Scandal. Not my husband. So that's the good news.
Okay.
I won't say who, but you know.
You were just testing the waters.
Just exploring,
on
yes.
strategy.
In this episode,
Stretching the
Pa
boundaries.
thinks Perley Day's a catch because he doesn't know anything about him. And I'm watching it going, he's a thief and a liar. And what does he not? You were almost in my, neck of the woods role wise. You were almost in villain territory with me. You were kind of terrible in this. How did you feel about that? You're kind of like a giant jerk in this episode.
Well, well, of course, my first impression when I saw the name was Perley Day was really something along the line of fashion designer or something.
Yes, yes.
For the
flamboyant.
Yes, then I read the script and saw things are getting darker in a hurry. He's a thief, and he's a horse injurer, and I guess I was to be the devil to Almanzo's angel. I get that's how the contrast began. So
can I ask?
No, it was
ask,
right up front. It was right up front. Very
Can
clear.
I ask before we get into more of your experience on set? But do you remember your audition?
Oh yeah.
Oh, as a matter of fact, I do. For someone who hasn't remembered anything at all, I plugged into this. It was the only audition for which I did not have to. That I was given an offer, because Dean, I was originally coming in to read for Almanzo.
Seriously?
In the original. With the original time I came in. But
Whoa.
well, and of course I asked for the big trailer and I became impossible. So that's no, it was that, and they told me that I was a little young. Something I don't hear quite as much anymore. And
None of us do.
But they wanted me to come back to read for the younger brother. And I kind of rolled my eyes and I was polite and said, oh, yeah, that really happens. We're going to call you back and all that. And the truth is they did. And it was the only time that a producer kept a promise on that score. So that I do remember that one of my several memories of it. That was the audition.
Wow.
Well, Susan Sukman, who was our casting director, who you undoubtedly met with, was a great giver of meeting. When you were in the office with Susan, she was gracious, welcoming. I think she made actors feel terrific about being in the room with her. She really had a nice quality in bringing out the best in people who were reading for her. And obviously, you, with all of your wit that has become incredibly clear in the years since all of that, but you had all of that going, and you were able to bring this sort of snake in the grass kind of quality to this. Really, I mean, you did. Watching the episode again, I watched it twice yesterday. I just thought you were terrific in the episode. And what was so important about this episode, there needed to be a turning point for Pa to see Almanzo as someone who could be right for his daughter. He'd objected on the terms of age and all of that. And he thought, well, maybe you could be the fix. But when you revealed yourself and Almanzo really continued being who he was, suddenly Pa was able to see Almanzo in a different light. The episode was very important from that perspective.
You look better by comparison.
Yes, right.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
A behind the scenes, maybe plot point that we just don't know about. Did Almanzo secretly pay his brother Perley Day to show up and look terrible to make him look better? Because it totally worked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Streets and
you don't know.
scandals on the prairie.
Yes, lots of drama and trauma on the prairie too.
Yeah.
Also,
no,
the family resemblance between you two. I mean, you guys look like brothers. Like you looked like you could have been brothers. It was such great casting.
in the church scene, as they shot us, our jaw
The three
lines
of you-
very
yes.
similar as we were singing, bringing in the sheaves.
That good old classic.
Yes.
Yeah, and but very, very similar kind of look, and
Yeah.
your hair down over your eyes and all of that, and
My
yeah,
helmet hair.
yeah,
They
Yeah,
all
yeah.
had it though. It was
Yeah.
part of the course.
Yes.
The
Yeah,
prairie
no.
course.
absolutely.
You keep the cap on.
What? How did your acting career begin? Now, I listened to a podcast that you were on, a British podcast, and you talked about you have quite a background in the industry. Tell our audience just very quickly what brought you to acting.
Family environment. My father was a screenwriter. He wrote a lot of things. One of the James Bond films in the '60s.
Amazing.
My mother was an actress. My aunt ended up being a very big agent for ICM. And
I'm sorry. Who's your aunt?
my aunt is Sylvia Gold.
Oh, for God's sake! Sylvia Gold was on my contract at ICM.
Yes.
Wow.
You
I
didn't.
want to know which James Bond movie. I need to know which James Bond
but
movie.
you only live twice.
Oh my God!
What?
Okay, I'm like,
Great theme song to that one.
Yeah.
Great theme song.
But he was so I went into a different kind of writing because he wrote for the screen and I wanted to write for the theater because I always had kind of an affinity for language. I'm leaving a lot of things out, but it started with commercials and lots of television. And I'm telling you, Dean, for 15 years after doing Little House, people came up to me and remember when there were only 3 networks, of course. But yes, it was look up on the peak. I did a lot of those shows back then, and then left acting to go to college to study music more formally and psychology.
excellent.
So how old were you when you did Little House, if you don't mind saying?
Oh, 2.5. You
You were 2.5?
Yeah.
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no, we had a great cinematographer.
Yeah,
who-
great lighting. It's all about the lighting.
Yes. But no, I was in my late teens.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's safe to say.
Well,
very safe.
in the episode, I think you said you were. I think they guessed you were sort of. Maybe you said you were 17. Something. 17 was sort of the
Pa
the
said,
age
what
that
do
came
you
out.
think he is? 16, 17, 18?
16, 17. Right.
Still,
Paul was guessing.
technically too old for Laura. It's still too old for her. But
You know what my favorite line is when Pearly Day clearly has interest in Laura and Almanzo is like, she's just a kid, and he's like, she's gonna be 16, and I just sort of shouted at the TV, when? Well, one day all of us are gonna be 16 at some point. Is that tomorrow or is that in 5 years from now? When?
It diminishes on the prairie a little bit.
Yes.
And Millie and Mrs. Olsen, apparently we thought, well, I couldn't snag Almanzo with the cinnamon chicken. This one will do.
Right. So you butchered you overcooked a steak trying to get to Pearly Day.
Well, because at that point, Percival had not arrived, so I
Well
did
done.
not cook at all. So
Very well done steak.
definitely eating at the restaurant back then.
Yeah.
God, things.
Had you had any background, Charles, in had you done period work before? Had you worked around horses? Any of that?
Oh well, the answer is yes. My father owned horses. And,
Very good.
And
But you looked very comfortable around. You can tell when people are comfortable around a large animal, and you definitely projected someone who. When you walked up to the horse, ran your hands down the horse's leg, all of that. You did that with great ease and confidence.
As John Lovitz would say, acting genius.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
The truth is, I spent many a summer with my father in Del Mar. You know, I was too big to be a jockey, but yes, I grew up around that.
Excellent.
Oh, so your father owned racehorses?
Yes.
Wow. You know, the creator of the series, Edwin S. Friendly II, was also very big in the horse racing game.
Yes.
He was very involved in it.
Everybody showed up at the Turf Club in Del Mar. That's John Forsythe, Jack Clubman, all of them.
Wow.
George Raft, everybody. So anyway, that was my big horse racing horse experience.
Dean, you also had a lot of horse. I mean, you were on that single horse. Was that you on that horse?
Part of it. Yeah,
I saw some
part no.
man in a wig business. I saw some stunt
Okay.
man.
Yeah, no,
who
I
looked a
was
bit
both.
Beefy man in a wig that was not you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Danny,
a beefy man, Dean.
Very
Not
Danny,
you.
Danny Doucette was my double, and yes, he had the wig on, and when it was anything like running the little carriage off the road, that was Danny. I did one gallop by. I obviously jumped on the horse and rode out of the shot in that, and then Danny did a wide shot of the gallop chasing the chasing the carriages down the road. They were just always concerned. I mean, Charles, anything can happen with a horse. These are, they're sure-footed, but something can happen. You just don't want to take that chance. You can always get another. It's tough. You can always get another double, but it's tough to replace the person whose face is central to a character if something happens, and so they don't take those gambles,
especially when it's been kicked in the face by a horse's hoof. Yes,
It's not so good then.
Exactly.
May I share one anecdote?
Please.
This will be. I'll keep everything quick. We were doing the interior of the house, that vast MGM place, and then all in the middle of it was this little house. The interior of the kitchen. So anyway, I after they were doing a scene, I took a break and wanted to walk around the periphery of this massive soundstage. And as I was going to the corner, I kicked up a little dust in the back, and what did I find? The beginning
Yellow Brick
of
Road.
the Yellow Brick Road.
Yes, you did.
And I have never forgotten that, just in the dust, all that. And I'm so glad that you've concur with that, because nobody believes me.
No, Melissa.
Oh no, it absolutely is. And I think, Allison, isn't there a plaque in the corner of
there
the stage?
is now, but back then,
maybe
they
not
were
then.
like, they had torn up the linoleum, or as I said, I thought, Doc Baker got a new office or something, so they ripped up whatever linoleum, because they would just slap another floor down and another floor down on top, and they had pulled it up, hence the dust in the corners off of the. If you watch the movie and you see where
wild.
Judy Garland's like she's going to run into the wall if she keeps going, it's
Yes.
the swirly part.
Yeah.
It's there. It's that, and that was uncovered, and Melissa and I found it. And went, it's the freaking Yellow Brick Road. And we ran in circles on it and clicked our heels to try to get to Oz. We did everything we could. But we were so excited. So, yes, you and I we have walked on the Yellow
This is
Brick Road.
so gratifying
Yes,
to confirm.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, no,
Amazing.
that's a really cool thing. I mean, stage 15, and it may still be, but at the time, it was the largest soundstage in the world, functioning soundstage. We had 27 standing sets on that stage, so it was really compressed in there. But yes, in the sort of the middle aisle as you walked in, now you found the Yellow Brick Road in the corner, but it was really, you could see it if you were looking for it all over the stage, and that was a very, very cool
We
thing.
had all the sets. We had all the interiors, plus the exterior of the house and the barn for night. Plus, unlike back at Paramount, all the dressing rooms, the little wooden cubicle dressing
Everything was
rooms,
there
which
on
had
the
been
one
outside
stage,
Paramount, plus the whole hair and makeup area, which had been in like a different soundstage, plus the gym that Michael eventually put in, and there was still room. You could have gone bowling. It was insane how big this thing was.
Yeah, it was big.
Oh.
It was very big. I remember when we started, and Charles, you may not have been there for this, but it was season 6 that the show started on that stage. Right across, I remember that War Games was shooting right across on the stage next door, and it was the huge, control center set. And so when at the end of the day, that big elephant door would open and you'd see the huge monitors on the wall and the whole thing. It was a really wonderful welcome to Hollywood production to see all that kind of stuff. That was right there, and Dallas was right down the road and right down the street, and Chips was right down the street, and Knots Landing was there, and I mean it was just like it was a fun lot to be working on. It really was. Yeah.
I miss those days.
You and I could have crossed paths. I saw that you had done. And I didn't know if it actually got to series. Did Waverly Wonders actually get to a series, or was it just a pilot?
You know too much to live.
Yeah, yes, it did come to a series, and it was because Joe Namath was the greatest, most famous football player in the world. So naturally, they make him a basketball
coach. Yes, right.
Yeah. And he was challenging as an actor. But very nice. We double dated. He took me out to dinner with a girl, and I went with somebody. It was a good show. Could have been a better one, but I remember once saying to the producer, because they were doing the stakes were very low in the plot. And so I did say to the producer, why don't you do a show about Joe Namath defending the rights of a gay teacher? This was in 1978.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
So you can imagine how that went over with his image. Right. But I felt that was the way to make it more vital and suspenseful and all that. But they stayed with who's going to the prom and all of that. And it was taken off the air, replaced by Different Strokes, by the way.
Interesting.
By Fred Silverman, who, like any new executive coming in, as soon as the stuff that is, he wants to clean house. And so we were thrown for a loss, as it
were. You were part of the cleaning. I only bring it up because I was offered Waverly Wonders as a test option when that was being done, and we could, whatever reason, it didn't work out to even do the test option. But I thought that was really cool when I saw that you had actually done the show. It made me wonder, were we up for the same part?
That was my Shakespearean monologue, of course, that probably put me over the top. But we probably were, because we both looked like we could have been Conrad Bain's son.
Okay.
He played.
Which show? On Waverly Wonders?
Yes.
Conrad Bain went from Waverly Wonders to Different Strokes?
Different Strokes?
Yes. The idea was to keep Conrad Bain on television. That whole Gary Coleman business, it was the whole point after Maude was to keep him on television. And so that's why he's in both.
How interesting. I didn't know that.
Now, am I hallucinating when I look at IMDb, or were you both boys in The Kid with the 200 IQ with Gary Coleman? Did that happen?
I think so.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Wait a minute. What did you do in that?
I played.
You guys are really our brothers from another mother. This is crazy. You're destined to be back together.
I didn't realize that.
You're both in it. I looked.
I played a kid. Now, why do I remember this? I played a big man on campus named Travis Alt. Now,
really? You were a big man on campus?
Control Alt Delete. No, I played this, and I remember being instructed on how to handle Gary Coleman, who was worth $150 million to the network, who had a serious kidney problem. So yes. Eventually, and so I had to handle him very carefully. But
what does that mean? Give an example of how you would handle Gary Coleman.
I had to be very careful about how I lifted him up.
To pick him up.
You mean physically handle him?
Right.
Oh.
Because he had very bad dialysis, all the time.
Yeah. God, that poor guy.
Yeah, I think he really struggled.
And there you are, and with Crispin Glover.
I will say.
Well, there's a doc.
The two shows have one thing in common. I'll be correct. That
No.
I both got smacked in the face. In The Kid with the 200 IQ, I was hit in the face, and by Gene Butler, I was hit in the face too.
That's right. Were you only cast as
in the Wilder? Yes, I hit you in the face.
You must have only been cast as punchable characters. That's. I mean.
Well, I think that's an interesting observation, Pamela, because you do have this sort of sneering. You do have one of that attitude where you could really incite people to get a little ticked off,
to punch you in the face.
I mean, that was part of your
punchable face.
mixture, or that's part of your gift as an actor, is you have that quality that people want to like get even, or people want you to want to silence you or control you, or because you're so out of control in this very erudite kind of way. I
wanted to punch him last night. I was watching the show.
Yeah, there you go.
This guy is awful. This person is a terrible human.
If you rewind the play, if you look at the punch you threw me, it was real close, and I leaked into it.
Oh no!
You'll see that I leaned into it, and you missed me just by maybe an inch or two, because I didn't want it to be one of those ones where you're punching and you're fighting
the air.
And but if you look at it for that, it was a really close call.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's a good. I thought it was a good stage punch, actually.
It was.
Yeah. Well, and Maury, our director, that was my first experience working with Maury Dexter as a director. The camera was just in the right spot. I mean, you don't want that Godfather, Sonny Corleone profile shot where you can see that he's missing the guy by 6 inches. You want to be able to believe that there's contact made, and they did shoot that well, and you did that very nicely, Charles. You really did.
Metaphorically and on camera, I've been taking punches all my life, and I understand it.
Pamela, I think we should take a break and come back and talk about music.
Let's take a break, and we're going to come back and talk more Perley Day and more music of Charles Bloom. So we'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
When you visit Simi Valley, California, you're stepping into the pages of history. Go from the pioneers to the presidents. Explore beautiful wildflowers, hike through iconic Hollywood locations, and end your day aboard the actual Air Force One at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. Throughout the summer, take the Little House 50th Anniversary Tour at Big Sky Movie Ranch. Less than 15 minutes from Los Angeles and 30 minutes from Universal Studios, Simi Valley has small-town charm with big-time history. Go to visitsimivalley.com for more information. We are so grateful to visitsimivalley.com for their commitment to presenting the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
All right. And we're back with Charles Bloom. Charles, please, you were just about to tell us something riveting. Please continue.
Well, it had to do with the fact that at that time, I was 19 and stuff, and I was starting to write theater and cabaret music, and I did it all the time. In fact, as an actor, I was mostly paying for music lessons. Anyway, but on the middle of a set, during a break, Michael Landon was 5 feet from me in the directing. So a chutzpah that I had, I went up. I was writing a song called "I Love Food," and I
Universal theme.
Yeah,
yes.
And I looked up at Michael, and I really did say, I'm sure I called him Mr. Landon at the time, and I said, Mr. Landon, can you think of a funny food, a food that sounds funny? He looked down at me like, how do I get this kid out of Sonora? And he looked down at me like we were just a deadpan, and he looked and said, Cruller. Cruller is funny. And I said,
in all seriousness.
And that's why, yes, deadpan. And that's why the first line of I Love Food is, the color of a cruller gets me giddy. Because of Michael Landon.
But he's right. The old comedy standard of like words with a K in them and how many. It is, yes, cruller.
Yeah. These are things I really can't tell anybody else but you guys.
We get it. I get it.
Michael had a wonderful sense of humor. I mean, if you had that
this
opportunity,
episode is hilarious too.
There are some really fun moments in it, and which you, Charles, are a part of. But listen, I think this was the precursor or the preview of what became really the larger part of your career. Your work in music is really quite special. I think I was listening yesterday to some of the tracks on your website and just thinking, God, what a gift you have for melody. And oh my God. I was just blown away by and then the quotes from the individuals that
Shall I read a quote or two?
Sure, read the quotes. And you have your Sondheim stories, and so do I. So
okay, well, we'll do the first one by a no-name named Stephen Sondheim.
Yes.
Said about Charles Bloom, his cleverness never fails to amaze me. Now, I think if I got a quote like that from Stephen Sondheim, I could die in peace. It would be a good one. Good one to go out on.
for a while.
Amazing. Jerry Herman says Charles Bloom is the first composer lyricist I've heard in 25 years whose work speaks to me. That's huge.
That's
Jerry Herman.
awesome.
Stephen Schwartz says he has creative ideas for songs, good tunes, but to me his lyrics are the most impressive of all. They're so consistently clever and well crafted. This is fine work. You can thank Michael Landon for his suggestion for that one.
Right. Brilliant.
And there are more and more, but just,
for thought.
These are incredible quotes.
Incredible. Your first thing you compose, I just saw in your bio that you're composing at 14?
Oh, well, I started, yes, but those are called the toolbox songs, when you make a lot of mistakes that are born of youth and everything. But you get better, and you get simpler too. This very night, since we're here, and of course it's happening tonight, a piece of special material of mine is being done by a man named William Michaels at the swankiest club in New York, 54 Below. Tonight. That's why today is such a banner day. He's doing a parody of mine called The Baritone's Complaint, which is a new lyric over a Cole Porter tune from Kiss Me Kate, Where Is the Life That Late I Led, which is now, where are the voices like Gordon McRae, and in a way, Robert Goulet.
Baritones.
Yes, those classic baritones. But
they don't exist in musical theater anymore. It's crazy.
No one wants to sing those. You don't want to do those. Everyone wants to be sort of in this lyric baritone or tenor area because that's where the most exciting melody is.
Don't get me started.
I know, me too.
Everybody wants to be the tenor. Yeah. No, you can't all be the tenor.
Well,
it's all swelting up high.
Writing is hard. It's easier to throw up a carnival and have people come and yell and scream and dance and stomp and everything. But I liked it because it is more difficult, Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's happening tonight at 54 Below. Fly out.
Okay, and so we're recording this. So, unfortunately, this is airing after the concert, but I'll just say it's Tuesday, February 18th. This is the date that we are recording this. So it will have happened by the time we do this, but maybe we can do a little social media blast and let people know.
There. Can you go? You're there. Can you go?
I'm there. I will try. I'm going to see what I can do.
You don't have a date.
Charles, are you based in New York?
Uh-huh.
Me too. Woo! I'm telling you, we have a million friends in common. It's ridiculous.
We do.
The people that sing Chuck Ragsdale's a good friend of mine. Went to college with him. Richard Todd Adams, I've worked with him before. He's another colleague. Michael Levine, I've known for 25 years.
Playing tonight.
Amazing. I just saw him a couple months ago. He came to one of the workshops. I was doing a workshop. He was there. I've known him for forever. I just love when the worlds collide like that. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
They're all amazing people, amazing talents.
But anyway, I've written lots of stuff, and I'll break it to you again. Pablo is about to be optioned.
Great.
Congratulations.
Great.
The overture is spectacular. I listened to the overture yesterday. I just thought, oh my God, what beautiful melody this is. It's just gorgeous.
I gotta,
and I'll make sure to include your
that you wrote a show about Picasso. I'm like, somebody wrote a show about Picasso. Like, hello, finally.
To life. He was very different.
Yes, in the beginning. And if people want to go to your website, it's charlesbloommusic.com, and I'll make sure to include that in the show notes as well.
And I think people are going to be knocked out by what you do, Charles.
With one M. Yeah.
You got
Yes.
I just can't believe this.
Why?
Very flattered and touched. I never thought that my small contribution to this great show would ever be remembered in such a way at all.
Listen,
I'm very touched and moved by this.
This episode has it all. It has a lot of comedy. It has the tension, the romantic tension. It has Laura in top cringe era of shouting, "I am a woman" at every chance she can get, even though she's still rocking the braids.
Why is she back in the braids? Why?
Why? You know, they put a little eyeliner on her in this episode. I think they're just like prepping us for that next episode, which is when Almanzo finally noticed her. She has like a little bit of eyeliner in that pretty red dress, but the braids, it's still happening, and yet she's rocking "I am a woman, I'm not a little girl" every minute she possibly can. It has a race in it. It has good brother, bad brother, like the brother tension, the attraction tension. He wants her, she wants him, he doesn't want her. It's got it all, and it's funny. And then it's the Pa Almanzo tension of that relationship. And
I love the arm wrestle.
Arm wrestling.
The arm
It's
wrestle
amazing.
prep that he's doing with Caroline laughing as he's so worried about losing this thing. I think
so
that's
funny.
a wonderful set of moments.
There's so much going on. The another moment, Allison, is that in the restaurant when you are, sweet talking her while stealing from her.
He steals from you.
Let's not sugarcoat it.
How did
He's
we
a
not
thief.
count up the day's receipts and like later have a scene with
Talking her while stealing from
He
her.
steals from you.
Let's not sugarcoat it.
How
He's
did
a
we
thief.
not count up the day's receipts and like later have a scene with Mrs. Olson beating the crap out of him because like he stole my money.
But the humor, the genius of having that kitchen, that swing door that opens up into the kitchen, and we first see Mrs. Olson holding up a glass bowl, and then you come back and she's holding up a different glass bowl, and when you say, "Mother, he liked my cooking," and you just hear the crash. I mean, it's just comedic gold in this episode. It's so funny.
And I make a total idiot out of myself for him. Oh, hi. Oh, you like oh my God. And Mrs. Olson like, he's very handsome. He's very handsome. We can get him. He's very handsome. And we just made complete idiots out of ourselves for him. So everyone's thrilled to see that. Like, oh, these yo-yos are going to fall for this guy.
So
Great.
we're segueing back into the episode here.
I know. I have one more question though.
Yeah,
when did you guys all meet each other? Was it on set? Did you know
totally.
that this was it's the first time meeting is on set doing your scene for the first time?
Yes. I mean, that's the way Little House worked. There was no rehearsal
Or
in
read
advance.
through.
There was no read through. I mean, it just happened, and I think we stepped into a really nice dynamic. I think, Charles, I think some of the moments that just simple little moments that we had in the beginning of the episode, when we first meet you, really, I'm pleased as I look back at those moments that they played in a way that there was knowledge, there was a brotherly knowledge of each other that we were able to bring very quickly so that people understood exactly who you were.
I think we were buoyed and surrounded by very good people.
No question.
Good and on and off the screen. I noticed how the crew worshipped Landon.
Yeah. Yes.
They've gone from other shows. They would stay. He was an actor who was like a below the line kind of guy.
Yes.
I remember that specifically. That how much they loved him, and how too soon we lost him.
Yeah, at 54 years old, it just an extraordinary thing. And we've talked about this so many times. The body of work that Michael created in the years that he had was just pretty extraordinary, and it lives on and on and on. And we celebrated 50 years this last year, Charles, of the series. I mean, this was,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels as vital and real as it's ever felt. I can't say this enough. Little House streamed 13.25 billion minutes in 2024, 25,000 years of streaming in 2024.
Those residuals must be on their way. I can't.
Very, very modest. They are very modest.
Wah, 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 wah. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Applause. By God, the residuals come, all 29 cents.
So I want to ask you, because our clock is running here.
Oh, bummer.
Charles,
Okay.
how is it? You're working in you're really focused in the theater, in the world of music. What's your assessment of how musical theater has, and Pamela, you'd have a strong opinion about this too, how the medium has evolved in recent years. Now, I was in the original company of Into the Woods in 1988, 89. That felt like a pretty traditional, still a relatively traditional time. In those years, in the years since, it feels like the Broadway theater has changed quite dramatically. But what's your assessment about that?
Well, I think it has to do with the tonality itself. Tonality is being misdefined as being old-fashioned, when it's really just the act of setting thoughts on top of sound, and it's a very hard thing to do. It's much easier to get songs that the people already know, and put it to a story that already exists. So the show has kind of training wheels. So this is my problem. In fact, there is a line, forgive me, in the show tonight that says,
Give it.
"I hate a jukebox. They all are phonies. The shows that are juked should all be nuked right on the Tonys." It's just I like the fact that it's difficult. Can I tell you one thing about, just before we go? That one of the brilliant thing about Landon is that while everybody was trying to clever themselves out, different, complexities and all that, Landon knew that he could do a show about who stole the milk can. And there'll be a lot of strife and who stole the milk can and all this, and then we find out who it was. And then Michael sits them down and says, "Well, you shouldn't steal the milk can." And you learn a lesson about life. And I think that was his magic touch, just dealing in the simplicity of human behavior and not trying to overcomplexify everything. And I say this as a man of sophisticated words, but I know that's what was the secret behind his success.
Dean, you talk about that all the time. Yeah,
no,
Nailed it. I mean,
it's simple, accessible stories. I always feel like Little House is this, and we're stepping away from music again, Charles. But
that's
all roads lead to Prairie, though, Dean.
Little House is just sort of foundational storytelling for living.
Yes.
And I think you get to pick who you want to be in the world, is depending on who you choose to relate to in these stories. And because the characters have this basic fundamental clarity about who they are, and we get to measure that, and we see the results of that behavior, and we get to choose.
And guess what? Music is the same way. The simpler something is, the more clear it is, the more attached someone will get to it. That's why as you grow older, you in your compositions, usually like Cole Porter did, you grow simpler. And if you look back at previous works, it's all very complex and all that, but it's the hardest thing to trust. Simplicity is the hardest thing to trust.
Well, and that goes for the music in Little House too, what David Rose did. Those tunes were so complex in their simplicity, and it packs a punch. Every theme packs a different punch.
David wrote
but
Robert Holiday for strings.
Yes, that's right.
Things that are simple also last.
Yes.
These are the things that last.
Yes.
Things are complicated and fancy, whether it be fashion, whether it be art or film. Oh, that was really a big hit, at the time. But 20 years later, what do we want?
Yeah.
And this is why, I mean, Charles, we've dragged you into our wacky Little House reunion world here with this show. We've been going all over the country. This show is so freaking popular now in 2025 that it's like mind bending, and it's because of the simplicity of it, and because people can relate to it. It's a foundation. It's real. It's stories that everyone gets, characters everyone relates to, and this thing's a freaking hit now. 50 years later, which we never anticipated.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't age.
Charles, I just want to thank you for being with us today. It's just such a treat. And
it is such a treat. You have no concept of how amazing this is. The fans are going to go nuts.
I hated you so much watching that episode, and I love you so much. I really do.
Luckily, it's not a cash box around. No, I have really stopped my world of acting a long time ago, and the idea to be welcomed back like this is really moving. It is.
Oh,
I'm gonna have a good cry off camera.
Oh no!
that's
cathartic cry.
You guys are
very nice.
You are so beloved in this canon. I mean, I know it was just one episode, but truly, it's a standout episode, and you are a standout in it, and it's a very memorable episode for sure.
Can it not be another 40 years before we talk to each other again?
Sure.
Yeah, well,
let's not let that happen.
And I have a feeling. Yeah, and I have a feeling our paths are now going to cross a lot, because we know so many people in common. It's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, really fun.
If you let me sing a song of mine, if you know a chart, I'll send you a chart if you want to hear something.
Send it. Please send it over.
know.
Please send it over.
Thanks for making me part
below
of this.
many times. Let's do it. I just need to mention one more thing about this episode that has nothing to do with Charles Bloom. It's it's just something that I need to say.
Okay.
Which is, there's a C story, which is the Albert in love with Penelope, and Andy wants nothing to do with her, which by the way is hot. That's a turn on. That's a turn on, or is it just me? When the guy wants nothing to do with you, it only makes you want them more. Okay, so Andy is super hot in this episode, but also Penelope looks like Andy in drag. I'm just saying, it could be slap a blonde wig on Patrick Laberteau, and there is Penelope. That might have been. Was it the same actor? I don't know. It could have been. I'm just like how you guys look like, just like how you guys look related sometimes.
She's also clearly a weird Nelly replacement, because I've left school and they need a ringleted girl to wreak some havoc for a show in the school.
Yeah, she was awful. I just had to say it because why not? Because we love it over here.
C story.
Yeah,
it was that was the C story in the episode. Yeah, and we rarely did C stories. I mean, generally it was an A and a B story. This was unusual that it had that C story. Brief, and it wrapped up very nicely.
Yeah,
and I mean, it played really, really well. This was a really nicely constructed episode.
I mean, I'm not necessarily an advocate for shoving a watermelon slice in a girl's face. However, she did have it coming.
Yes, she did.
And it did make me think Andy was hotter, which is my own issue. We don't have to talk about that now.
Have you spoken to your therapist about this?
Anyway, back to Charles Bloom.
Charles, well, I think we need to say goodbye. But Charles, I hope you'll stick around and do a quick Patreon with us.
Do a quick Patreon segment with us. Another just couple of minutes.
I did get Melissa her first date. I fixed her up on her first date with at the end of Sonora. I don't know if I should say his name, but if I didn't, it would be Tim Mayer was his name. And I fixed him up he was on a different episode because they shot different ones and all that. But I remember that specifically.
Well, he was in Sweet 16.
Tim Mayer?
Tim Mayer was in Sweet 16.
Who was he? Was he the student that you punched?
Yes, he was the punch-out student.
Oh, my God. So you really did have a reason to be jealous, Dean. You really did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great insider info.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And thank you to Tony Sweet.
My pleasure. Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Everybody, thank you so much. Thank you to Charles Bloom. You're incredible. We love you. If you're in the New York area, I'm going to put on social media right now. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, if you were in New York. on Tuesday, February 18th, but I am going to post on socials in a minute about it. That his work will be done tonight at 54 Below. And check out his website, charlesbloommusic.com, and I'll put it in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here. Stay tuned for Patreon. He's going to be joining us. And we'll see you next time, guys. Bob, go get the wig. Let's fly down the hill, everybody.